Hello, everybody. Oh shit.
I'm gonna call this an ABPD, an ABPC, ambush podcast.
Hello, my friend Belita.
Stop touching me.
Sorry. It's good to see you again.
Hey now.
Did you just come from a run over?
I'm on a bike.
You're on a bike.
So it's parked on the side of your wall.
Cool.
On the inside part.
Yeah. So Aaron, a friend at our gym, had a fight last night.
This is interesting. I know Aaron. I helped train Aaron a while back as well, and I've watched his first pro debut. I've watched quite a few of his sparring sessions. I'm kind of not at that gym anymore. But is this his third pro fight? Second, third?
Third, correct.
Third, and he's on like a 7-fight contract. And we were talking about Aaron, who's a great kid, energetic guy, super energetic. And we feel like his strength is the kid is afraid of nothing. Like I'm telling you, if we took a 300-pound, 500-pound gorilla and put it in the room with him and said, "Aaron, go fight," he'd be like, "Fine, all right." Doesn't give a crap if he's being hit. He doesn't back down.
He's fearless. Yeah, he'll fight anybody.
Problem is maybe too fearless.
Too fearless.
Sometimes doesn't bother with all the wonderful defensive stuff we drill. The first punch gets thrown and he's like, "Let's stand toe to toe and slug it out." But you said he fought better this time.
I was proud of him how he fought.
Proud
at the end. Yeah, I believe he won that fight, and the few actions that he did that warranted his loss were not greater than the actions that he did to win.
Therefore, it didn't warrant his loss. But the things he did to his discredit didn't surpass the things he did to his credit. In other words,
100%.
So what? Tell me, how many rounds? Tell me what the fight was like.
He was listening to my advice. I believe it was a 6-round fight.
Okay.
I think we went past 4.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, Zenny asked me, like, "Are we on the 3rd round?" And I looked at him. I go, "I don't know. I'm so into this. Like, it was like playing a video game, but just yelling. And then there was like a lag time to like when the fighter would do
the avatar, you know.
Yeah, when the avatar would do the actions.
Right.
And then sometimes there was like a lag. So I kind of equated this to like a NASA scientist moving like a rover on the moon, and there was like a lag time.
That's when coaching is good. When coaching is good, you're watching the action intently. You're able to give good directions, good analysis, and the athlete is responding to you and listening to you.
I was so happy that he was. It was amazing.
Because sometimes it's like a video game where you're doing this and everything but what you ask is happening because there's not a communication. There's not either a trust or a rapport or whatever it was. So I'm glad that worked out. Because knowing Aaron, he probably came out and rather rapidly things escalated to a pretty hard clash. I'm guessing
it was intense.
Right.
In the 1st round, and it reached its crescendo in the 2nd and kind of plateaued right there. Like,
so what happened in the 2nd for the plateau to happen? Was it?
I mean, it just stayed at that intensity.
Okay, so it was.
That was the plateau.
It was peak. It was a peak.
Yeah. There was a peak, and then plug that black charger in the socket, please. It's a little bit out.
Okay. And what I'll do is move this so we have some support.
And I gotta plug it in over here.
That would kind of help, wouldn't it?
Fuck my dick. Okay.
No, I won't. No, thank
you. The intensity was like set in the 2nd round and maintained, except for the last 10 seconds of the round. That's when the opponent stole the round, I believe, in the judge's eyes. Like, starting in the 2nd round, he came out like more wild. Not more technical, just more wild, and it looked like he stole the round from my eyes, the 2nd and the 3rd round especially. And what Aaron did to not help himself is in the later rounds, like 5, 6, maybe 4, he didn't press Prentice enough. Like, he let him breathe and recover. Like, they would exchange, and then there was like a distance set, and it was like a little bit further than kickboxing range distance.
And sometimes that happens because the fighters get tired, physically or mentally, or it's because they want to sort of mentally regain their orientation. So, what do you think that was all about?
I think Aaron was afraid of getting countered, and he knew that the opponent was still dangerous and there.
So, I have several questions.
Because he has no problem pushing forward on
Right.
Damien at the gym, or but when he was getting
to be fair, Davian is more passive.
exactly, you're right, just like exactly, but he didn't press. Like I was like yelling like, don't let him breathe, like pressure, and like jab, like to close that distance.
So these are my questions. I have questions. All right. First of all, was he finally jabbing? Because sometimes he forgoes the jab and comes in, ducks his head, throws an overhead right to close the gap. He comes in, throws a straight right first and follows
his most devastating shots were off the jab. I was yelling jab overhand right, and that completely changed the expression of his opponents. Like he was like, oh, like.
And what about the head movement? Because sometimes he kind of neglects to do head movement.
He was slipping, and then it turned into like a slipping clenching.
I see.
Yeah, and then there was a lot of breaks. There was at least 6 breaks.
Based on what you're saying, again, no, I wasn't there. Based on what you're saying, you're not building a good case that he was robbed. You're building a good case that he fought a good fight, but could not dominate and could not, make the opponent miss and counter off of him. Now, what were the things he did that you thought would have earned him that fight?
If he kept if he closed the distance on the pressure.
Not what happened.
Oh,
what did he do that you think he got robbed?
He hit the opponent's mouthpiece out, spat it out,
hit effectively and often.
Hit with significantly more power shots than the opponent did.
Okay, so more rights, more hooks, more uppercuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
The opponent, Prentice landed like a good right hand 2 times, like one like stunner, but Aaron shook it off immediately. It didn't bother his movement at all.
This is the thing that I find anomalous about Aaron. He's not a big dude, right? He's not small.
5'7", 5'6".
But he's not big, thick limbs. He's not, thick neck, thick waist.
Shredded.
He's shredded, right? And normally when someone is like that, and his opponents tend to be bigger. Was his opponent a little
taller and longer?
Okay, so normally when that's the case, I tell the fighter, learn how to slip, learn how to weave, learn how to be a counter fighter first. Mm-hmm. So that you cannot be hurt by this bigger, taller, stronger opponent. And then when you press your offense, like your defense will still automatically be on. And normally what Aaron likes to do, which is charge in and fight, I would be like, that's suicide for a smaller fighter, even if you're the same weight. But Aaron has a chin like, it's an anomaly.
He's durable,
I think you could hit him with a crowbar, like in the middle of a match. Like come up behind him, whack him with a crowbar while he's fighting. He'd be like, and then come back in.
Exactly.
So, kudos on that. I mean, I don't doubt it was an entertaining fight. He's a crowd favorite every time.
It was the most competitive of the card. I'll say that right now.
Yeah.
Because there was 2 fights that were just. There's more than 2 fights. There was 2 fights that stood out as like domination. Like the headliner, like we left, we didn't finish that fight. We saw 2 rounds and we're like, all right, we see where this is going.
Where was it?
In Arnold, Missouri, in the Knights of Columbus.
Aaron, if you're listening, bro, respect you, man. I know you're a good fighter. You're always an entertaining fight. All I can say, man, is he was there, so the observations he's making are for your benefit. That I don't doubt that they're 100% true. And as I've always said, Sun Tzu said this. Sun Tzu in The Art of War, he said, the warriors of old first made themselves invulnerable before venturing out to fight the enemy. Therefore, they were never defeated in 1,000 battles, right? I have seen your offense. Your offense is fierce. We could augment it more by what he said you were finally doing more of, which is set it up with a jab, which, as I can see, is a working formula. Now, let's make that defense not just impeccable, But a defense you can switch on in the middle of offense, to where you can use your aggressive style, moving at the opponent, flicking out your hits, and in the middle of that, something comes in and you change gears, and now you're back on the assault, and that will make you even more formidable in attack by making yourself more invulnerable. It's like an automated missile defense system on an aircraft carrier. You know what I mean? But hey, I would love to see footage of the fight. I would have loved to have been there. But kudos, bro.
Yeah, there's footage out there. I'm definitely gonna get my hands on it. It's just a matter of time.
And I think you have 4 fights left on that pro contract, so there's still time. There's still time to make your statement before you make your next decision. Yeah.
I believe I yelled left hand up 12 times. Like I yelled it a lot, but his defense was better. He blocked shots and he parried and he countered. Yeah. So I'm extremely proud of him. So
I'm a big fan of a complete game in any combat sport, whether it's offense or defense. You know, if you're an MMA guy, like if you don't know how to grapple, learn how to grapple. Just do it. If you're an MMA guy and you're black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and can barely kick or punch, get some instruction. Darn it, right? Yeah. So, a complete game, and so Aaron, sounds like your game is getting more complete, which I just think is cool. Keep at it.
Super cool.
Listen to Rich. Listen to this podcast. So, interesting. So it was a boxing only event, or was
correct? It was boxing only.
My friend Jose Gonzalez, Master Gonzalez, he's about Zinni's age, right?
68.
Yeah, I think he's turning 67. He's working a little bit with the Danny Garcia camp and that MMA guy Dylan Dennis, and he had a dinner with him and his mom, and they discussed certain things. And if you're listening, Dylan Dennis, you need my friend Jose, because my man's been a martial artist since the 70s. He's been learning how to box since the 70s. Back in the 80s when the PKA was new, he was absorbing that and sparring with those pros. And your jiu-jitsu, from what I've seen, is absolutely sick. Like
Marcelo Garcia, student.
Yeah, absolutely sick. Wicked, smooth, high-level stuff. And you need those hands. You need those hands and that experience he brings.
Striking and kicking and
like you need more kicks, man.
Me?
Like we were goofing around in our last podcast in my apartment, and I had him kind of thump me with the side of his foot in the screw kick, right? And I felt the bones of his foot. I'm like, those are some big ass bones. Like if he learns how to move those legs quickly, they're going to be devastating weapons for him.
On that note, we will transition to our next segment of the podcast where we train